This conference will now be recorded.
Basically, to start off with, all the characteristic values in all the characteristics values are called characters, and all numeric values are called key figures. Okay, so this is the naming convention. So we'll go ahead with the star schema concept here. So in the star schema, what we have here is like we have the characteristics and numerics. So characteristic values are called characters and numeric values are called key figures. In the key figures, as we have seen in the first project, we'll have number, integer, date, time, date, time, and amount and quantity. So there will be 6 types of numeric values that we have here. When it comes to the HANA system, this is a BI-BW system. Even when you go to the HANA platform, the same thing will be there. But when it comes to this HANA system, in the HANA system, the characteristics are called attributes. Characteristics are called attributes, and this can handle only characters. And then numeric are called measures. Numeric fields are called measures. So these are the two different types of things that we have. But whereas in the BW system, they are called characteristic values and numeric. So Sharath, like you are aware of the star schema from this perspective, right? Attributes and measures. Now the same attributes at the BW level are called characteristics, and at the BW level, the numeric values are called key figures. Same thing, but the naming convention is different. And in this star schema, what happens is any star schema when you take will have one fact table. That fact table will be surrounded with dimensions. Okay, fact table surrounded with dimensions, and the fact table will have only one fact table will be there. It will have only numeric values. That are numeric values are called key figures. Numeric values are called key figures, or numeric values are called key figures. So fact table has key figures, and those are also called as measures. So in HANA they are called measures. In HANA they are called measures, and in BW, when it comes to BW on HANA, also they are called key figures only. But when it comes to HANA development, it is called measures. So we need to be aware of both the naming conventions. So now we are talking about the BW perspective of star schema. So we'll talk about the key figures. So key figures will be there, and the fact table will have key figures, and dimensions will have characteristic values. Characteristic values. Now let's see this here. So we are talking about the star schema here. So in this star schema, OLTP versus OLAP values. So this is a multi-dimensional concept. Multi-dimensional concept is also called as star schema. So in the star schema, we'll have the major thing that we have in the middle is the fact table, and the fact table is surrounded with the dimension tables. Each dimension table will have multiple dimensions, those multiple characteristics, and those characteristics are called yeah. So in BW they are called characteristics. In HANA they are called as attributes. So each dimension will have a dimension ID, and this dimension ID is linked to the fact table with the dimension ID. So here a material ID is there, here also material ID is there. That with that material ID we are joining the fact table with the dimension table. Now here the fact table has two elements. One is the dimension IDs and the key figures. When it comes to dimension table, it will have every dimension table will have one key characteristic with which it is linked. I mean, the fact table is linked with the dimension, and remaining will have the characteristics. Now, what will happen here is whenever there is something which is repeated, for example, if you go to the customer dimension, in the customer dimension, if city is repeated multiple number of times for multiple records, then that will not be again and again repeated multiple number of times in our in our BW system. It will be saved only once. Okay, so from the HANA perspective also the same thing will happen, but only that I mean like the naming convention will be slightly changing. One second. So in HANA also I'll just show you. So if you see here this characteristics and yeah, this is a star schema. Okay, so in this like we have this fact table, and the fact table is surrounded by the dimension tables. Now the fact table will have all the key figures and the dimension IDs. So each now these dimension IDs are not created by us. It's system defined. I mean like system will automatically generate the dimension IDs. Here we have the key figures, and key figures are there as a part of the fact table that will be linked with the dimension IDs. Okay, so this is called the star schema, and our cube is actually based on this star schema only. Now the diamond, when we go to our system and see, that will be the same thing which we have here. So our cube is actually based on the star schema. So there can be only one fact table in this multi-dimensional system. There will be only one fact table, and that fact table is actually surrounded by the dimensions. Now when we see this, when we see the cube that we have actually created, in this we have a cube. So if we double click on it and you see, these are like, there'll be all the characteristics are under one dimension, and the dimension name that we have here is IC underscore Sadaf1. So this is one example we have done in previous batch. So what happens here is, like, there can be up to 13 dimensions. There can, and plus 3 standard dimensions. Okay, and then we have the fact table. So we have the 13 dimensions plus 3 dimensions, 13 plus 3 dimensions we'll have, and there will be one fact table, and the fact table is here in the key figures, and there will be 13 dimensions like this. So there will be 3 dimensions which are standard dimensions. Those are called data package, time, and unit. The moment you create a cube, automatically these will be appearing here, but nothing will be there inside that, inside this unit and time. But in the data package we'll have this standard fields and standard info objects. You cannot add or delete any of these things. By default they'll be there. Time, if you have any time units, you can put it here. Unit, any units are there, you can add it here. And then this is the one we have, and we have this navigation attributes. Going forward I'll tell you what are the navigation attributes. So these are all the options that we have when we are creating a cube. Now in the first project which we have done, we actually push this date of purchase into the key figures. This is a fact table actually. Key figures means nothing but the fact table, and automatically once we drag and drop the key figures, automatically a fact table gets created, and that will be linked to dimension table, and dimension table will have the dimension fields. Those are called info objects, which are custom. We have taken only one dimension here, so we can take multiple dimensions. In bw SAP has allowed us to maintain up to 13 dimensions, 3 standard plus 13 dimensions. So these number of dimensions that are allowed in a software can change from one software to another software. But whereas the concept of star schema is universal, you know having a fact table surrounded with dimensions, this is a universal concept that we have. Okay, till here, if you need any clarifications, you just let me know. I'll go ahead with that. So I'll once again create a cube, and and I'll just show you how it was done, and then we'll see how the star schema will be there. So star schema will be there only in the cube, not in the DSO. DSO is something which will store the data in a two-dimensional tables. So the data that we are storing here is transaction data. So data stored SAP BW, data storage can be done in first one DSO, second one cube. Data store object, and this is a cube. So data store object can also store that the transaction data which we have. We are loading the transaction data now. So the data transaction data can be loaded either in DSO or in the cube. So DSO will store the data in two-dimensional, and cube will have multi-dimensional. So cube will have a multi-dimensional data storage. DSO will have two-dimensional data storage. So the multi-dimensional concept is what we have discussed just now, and it will compress the data because any repeated data will be saved only once in the system. So that in that way we can reduce the memory space. When it comes to DSO does not have all those features. It just stores the data just like we have done it in the source system. So basically, we will always try to move the data into cube because data compression is not done in DSO. So we normally get the data into uh, from the DSO from the flat file or the source system, source to PSA, PSA to DSO, and DSO to cube. Now, why do we do it to DSO and cube is because DSO is acts like an intermediate. So if you are not very sure you want to load the data into cube, if you're not very sure the data will be saved for long term, if you're not very sure that you are going to use it for long time, you just temporary data that might be deleted, then you have to stop till DSO, because in DSO you can manipulate the data, you can delete the data, and you can also modify the data. But when it comes to cube, it cannot be done. Once the data is loaded into cube, you are not supposed to delete it. But in DSO, it's not like that. So it is like more flexible. So DSO acts like an intermediate between the cube and the PSA. So what we'll do is we'll understand the concept of DSO now, and we will load the data into DSO in the coming project, the project number 2. So we will load the data from source file to PSA to DSO till here. We will do till here. Okay. So we have a lot of projects that we have from the BW perspective and BW HANA perspective. The project that we have done just now is the flat file, that is .csv to PSA to cube, and that fixed currency, we can go ahead with the fixed currency, we'll see that, and flat file to PSA to DSO. So I'll just once again do this first one quickly. So you must practice this, and then only then we'll get a clarity. So let's say we have this VIP underscore. Now here we have, instead of this a date, and we also have something like amount. So this is customer number, customer name, and then date of purchase, and this is amount. Okay, so if it's amount is there, compulsory we need to have the currency. Let's say we have some 10. Okay, so this is the fact file for us. So for our understanding, we can do it, everything, the entire project, we can do it once again, in which like we can go ahead with this amount, and for the amount we don't have the currency. System will expect a currency. So what we'll do is, instead of giving the currency in the flat file, we will give it as a constant in the source system, in the queue. So remember this, we have customer number, customer name. These two will consider as characteristics, and these two will consider as key figures. So we'll go ahead with that. So we have to go to info objects, right click on this, create info area, and say something like IC underscore VIP, IA underscore VIP, info area for process. Okay, so this is done. Now it will be at the last. So right click on this, create info area, sorry, create info object catalog. So which we already done. IOC, activate. Now we have to create one more info object catalog that is for key figures. So key figures. Oh, I think key figures I didn't change it. Create info object catalog, key figures. Activate. And this is characteristics and key figures. So under the characteristics, we need to give this two characteristics that we have, and we'll create them, and then we have the key figures. So right click on this, create info object, and in this we have VIP underscore customer number. Then we have this customer name, key figures. In key figures, we have this date of joining, date, YYMMDT, say OK. And now we are going to go ahead with the amount. This is very important. Create info object. This is amount. So VIP1 underscore AMNT amount. And amount, we have to give the fixed currency here. Either we can give fixed currency or you can give variable currency. So if it is a type amount, automatically it will expect a currency. But if I give it as a number, it does not need any currency, because for amount it is mandatory for us to give the currency. For quantity, unit is mandatory. The moment you give it as quantity, this fixed currency will be disabled, and you can give fixed value, fixed unit or currency. So what do I mean by amount is like, if I say 10, does 10 does not have value unless and until I tell the what you call our currency, whether it is rupees, dollars, or whatever it might be. And quantity is something which we need to have this quantity as like quantity. Also we need to have the unit. So this is what it is. Amount, go for the amount, and then here we have to go for INR. Save. So this is like we are given the fixed currency as INR. activate. So for all the records that we upload, automatically the currency will be updated as INR. We can later we can change it as variable currency, wherein for each and every record we can change the currency and then upload it. So we'll go to the info provider and we can see this last one. So in this we have this, right click on this, create info cube, IC underscore VIP1. Characters, a customer number has come here. Now what we have done is in the last project we have kept the other info object also in the same one, but what we'll do is, okay Sharath, we use this in the basically to store the data. We store the data in the cubes and DSOs. Whatever data that we are having, we'll be storing either in DSOs or cubes, and we'll be storing the data there. Okay, so which scenarios we'll use, in the sense like this exactly is a scenario. So we load the data into, we bring the data into the BW system, and then we will project this data into the reporting whenever it is required. So we are going to consolidate all the data into BW system. Yeah, Shashi, ADSO will be replacement of a cube, right? So yeah, we'll be discussing about that multidimensional concept in ADS as well. Yeah, so now we bring the data. So that's the reason we have discussed about the ETL process now, Sharath. We bring the data from some multiple systems, get it into one place as BW system, and from here we use the data for reporting and whatever it might be. This is the main purpose of it. Now the same thing will take it forward into HANA platform. This is before the HANA platform, and after the getting into HANA platform, there are slight changes that will happen to this particular system. You can see it is in MySQL system, and the next server that we'll do the same project will be on HANA system. Okay, so we have done this. So once it's been done, save it. Okay, so we have customer number, then we have to have the customer name. So for customer name, we will create one more dimension. In fact, we can put it in the same dimension. So this is dimension 2, and under the dimension 2 we can go ahead with the customer name. Customer name can be done in the dimension 2. Now here we'll go ahead with the key figures. In the key figures, we'll go ahead with the key figure here. Date of joining here. So these are things that we have dragged and dropped here. Now we have built the cube. No, Sharath, like we cannot do these things through HANA system. Actually, yeah, there are this concept of consolidating the data can be done in HANA Studio, HANA Studio or HANA Studio or in the BW for HANA. So BW for HANA and HANA Studio 2 are different things. So we take it forward, and the designing that we do in the BW for HANA is same as what we are doing right now. Okay. So when we go to the BW for HANA perspective, the only this thing which we are doing will work, not what we have done in the HANA Studio, like attributes, attribute view, analytical view, and calculation view. These all things will be in the HANA Studio level. BW for HANA will have this what we are doing right now. Is it clear, Sharath? Did I answer your question? Okay, so here we have this. Now when we go ahead with this, once it's been done, once the cube has been created, we'll go ahead with the info provider, and in info provider it is done. Now we'll go ahead and load the data. So from the data source level, so we'll create a data source here. Right click on this, create data source. So we'll go for the extraction, and here the flat file name 25. We need to make sure that the file is closed when we are making use of it. So first row should be ignored. This is comma, which we already done. So we're going to proposal, load example, allo, and then fields, preview, read preview data, activate. So this is the data that we have. This is previewed, and right click on the data source. As we have discussed previously, we have to create info package, and here we have to go for VIP1 underscore IP. So extraction, process, update, schedule. In the schedule, we have to go for start. Hello. So we'll go ahead with the start here. Hello. So once it's been done, we'll monitor it. Oh, record. Oh, twice it has been recorded. Now what we'll do is we'll go ahead with the info provider. Right click on this, create transformation, and here in the transformation we need to create the data source. In the data source, we'll take that data source which we have done now, VIP1 underscore DS. And the source system is KST. Create transformations, data source DS1 underscore VIP. We'll just map this customer number, customer name, date of purchase. We'll go for date of joining. We get the date of joining here, and we'll go for this one. Activate. Okay, for the type amount, we need to give this no currency. We just need to change this. Okay, here from no conversion, we need to give this no conversions, because system will expect a conversion. So that's the reason we'll go for no conversion here. And once it's been done, we'll go for data P, data transfer process, say okay. And here we'll go for execute, activate it. and execute. Say yes. Now if you go for data target, say okay, contents. So this is the data that we have in the system. So we can go ahead with the field connection, customer number, customer name, say okay, execute, and we have this data here. So this data in the amount, if you see the amount, basically we need to also see the currency. So in the display it is showing as exponential form, the currency. Okay, this is the data which we have loaded into the cube. Okay, so here we'll go ahead with okay. So the reason we are discussing this would be, once we are done with this, we are going to go ahead with the HANA perspective. Let me log in into the HANA perspective. Okay, I hope you can see the screen. So in the Windows, when we have this perspectives in the HANA system, open perspectives, and in this, when we go for this BW modeling, in this, like, we have the BW project. So here we will be linking to that particular BW for HANA. The client name and all, we'll take it from here. So here, this is the BW perspective in the HANA Studio. We have this as 04. Instance number is 04. Client okay, 100. Client is 100. And there, whatever login we have done it for BW, the same thing we have to do it here from the HANA Studio perspective. So what we'll be doing is we'll be accessing the same thing from here, the BW repository. And in this, now whatever we do there in the BW perspective can be directly absorbed here when we do it in BW 7.5. Right now we are doing it in the BW 7.4. So once we do it in the BW 7.5, we'll be taking it here. Let me show you one thing which we already done. So in this we have this open ODS view, the characteristics. So whatever we define there can be replicated here, can be seen here. So the info objects that we create there will be seen here. Now you will not be discussing about what exactly is the characteristic, what is the key figure, and all these things will not discuss when we come to the HANA perspective, the HANA Studio perspective. Okay, Sharath, now it is clear. So whatever we do there will be directly replicated here. Hello, hello, Sharath, are you there? Yeah, so we are not going to create again the characteristic. Now what will happen when we do the same thing which we done in the project, when we do it from the BW 7.5 perspective, that can be replicated here. Why it can be why it will be replicated is because if you observe, when I've clicked it, it was asking for username and password. So when it asks username and password, it directly goes and hits the BW system in which we have designed it. Okay, so going forward, the same thing will be done in BW 7.5, and we'll be able to see that cube here at sorry, info objects and the advanced DSO here at the HANA perspective level, which we'll be doing in the next projects. So here now, when we see info area, you know what is an info area now. If you see the info characteristics, you know what is a characteristic. You know everything now. So this is something like ZJH underscore IA1 is there now. So this is for JH Softech. So we have the characteristics. So you can see the characteristic JH underscore employee number. Whatever we create in that, it will be visible here. So we created here. So in the previous versions, that is HANA 1.0. So from in the HANA 1.0, there was no option to create the characteristics and everything from here. We had to create everything from the BW server, and then we just had to replicate here. From HANA 2.0, they have enabled this one also. Okay, fine. Then from here, we'll continue in the tomorrow session. And Sharath, you just hold on in the call. So we are done with the class.